What are you? You're in Photoshop?
Yes, this is
Yeah,
Photoshop.
yeah, okay. Yeah, they don't. I wish Photoshop had a record function like every other program does. So you
Listen,
wouldn't have
I'm not gonna learn anything else.
to.
I'm gonna
I
die on
refuse.
Photoshop.
On your tombstone, it's just going to be
Yes.
like dot PSD.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah. Hello, and welcome to the Spider Lair. I'm Spider, of course, and on this channel, we like to design stuff. Been going with some character prompts, and then we delved into creature. So we had to go into technical design. Um, you're gonna see that I'm not as great of an artist as you thought I was. This is not my strong suit. So to help carry this episode, I do have a guest.
Yeah.
On the show today, we have OvergangDood. Say hello.
Hello, I am OvergangDood. I am a concept artist and illustrator. Thank you a lot for having me. I'm so honored to be the one that that makes your life miserable for a few days.
I
Pretty
hate
good
you.
prompt. Love it.
As you can tell, we're very good friends. Uh,
Yes, very good. The best.
there's no underlying tone of of sadistic intentions or anything. Yeah, so today we've got mythological mech as our prompt because if we're gonna go with technical drawing, let's just pick the hardest possible thing for me to do and the thing that probably Overgang could do in his sleep. We're gonna go ahead and start this footage, obviously saving the best for last, so I'm gonna go first. Here we go. So right off the bat, my goal was to just make it look like a mech, and then I figured if I reached that goal, I'd be good. So I was more just making thumbnails and going off the one that looked most like a mech. Right now I am taking a course on mech design from a little YouTube artist you might
Little
know.
man.
A little guy named what is it? Sonus
On cynic.
Sinks. It's Sinks. Okay, yeah. So Cynic's design. My mom is doing a Mech
Our
course right
mom.
now. Oh, sorry. Yeah, my brother. I forgot to add that. I am taking Cynic's Mech design course, and he talks about well, just in general, I feel like Cynics talks about this is to just keep making a bunch of things, and instead of trying to like improve one design, just like start a new one. So I like to do that with thumbnails, where instead of like working off of them and trying to like mince them around, I will just like make a lot of them, like just make a whole new one. And you're eventually going to land on something if you just make hundreds of them. You're going to land on something you like. I would say with mechs, it's just such a dance. I feel like it's the ultimate. You have to actually look at what you're doing and have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to look at what's being put on the page and decide things from there when you're filling in the details. Like, the silhouette, fine. Like, you're gonna get, once you get a silhouette you like, I feel like once you've got that basic, you're good to go. But just everything after that point is just such weird
Yeah.
territory because it's very nebulous and it's very, like, easy to get it wrong. It's like you just have to keep drawing things that look wrong until you like stumble on something that looks right. Like you have to section off the mech into different little pieces like that can't be even.
Yeah.
Like they have to be spaced away from each other. Like when you're doing the paneling, you could totally put a paneling line on there that like throws off the whole design. It's just such a delicate little dance that you're doing the whole time, and I feel like it's just so easy to
Yeah,
mess up.
I think that's a pretty good way to put it. It's like mech design is like a very good. It's like the ultimate test for like being alone with your thoughts and like being like critical and like exercising your like critical thinking and like your own self feedback and using your brain in general. It's like it's a very good exercise because it's such a non-specific and like wide spectrum of what you can consider a mech, and like there's no such thing as a mech in this world, maybe
Right.
for the most part. So it's a it's a very interesting way to exercise your imagination, I guess, and like try to restrain it in a way, and try to make sense of something that doesn't exist yet. And that's a very fascinating thing to do.
I
So
would
yeah,
I would almost
I,
make a
I really
parallel.
like mix. Yeah,
Yeah, I would almost make a parallel. I like what you're saying because it makes me think of abstract art, right? Where
yeah,
abstract is just pure design. It's like, the thing that shoehorns abstract into being like a small window to fit in, like the big parameter that has is it like can't look like something else. It's very hard to not evoke anything. Like, you know what I'm saying? Where abstract art is just like pleasing shapes, and if it is evoking something, it's more of a feeling and not a thing, like not a physical object. Like you can have abstract art that's like, I want you to look at this and feel anxiety, like because that's shape design right there. You can start putting shapes close together. You can make tangents. You can do all sorts of things to induce anxiety when you're looking at an image that follow basic design principles. And with a mech, I just feel like there's less parameters somehow. Like,
yeah,
it just, there's anything can be a mech, but so many things aren't. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's
yeah.
just very hard to just like zero in on what it is that makes it what it is.
I guess it's about like in some way it's about like freedom, but it's also about like restraining it and like channeling it in a like very specific ways.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
So yeah, it's very interesting because that it's about like not only like expressing like like a certain design, it's also about like making sure you think about it instead of just actually just doing a an abstract design or something.
Yeah, it
It's
takes
about
more mental power because it's also pulling from a visual library that I would say is very broad and narrow at the same time, because there's not a big visual library for mechs because there's only so
yeah,
many places they show up. But there's also a huge visual library for robots and lots of reference for cars and airplanes and vehicles and construction equipment and things like that. Like, I pulled in so many references for this. I pulled in a drill, both the and like an underwater sample taker that you would sort of hold on to the sides and take a core sample from the ground. I should probably kind of go into why I decided to go with this design. For the
yeah,
mythological aspect of it, I went with sort of the Greek mythology, Poseidon, Neptune, and decided that the way that would be enough for it to be mythological. And
yeah.
so the
Very Atlantean.
yeah, so I just wanted to put it into more modern times. So I used underwater submergible little it's like a submarine or something you'd use to explore the deep ocean. And I was going to say that this mech's function was to not only explore the ocean, but find some stable ground to build an underwater society in, like you said, like Atlantean, or in some distant future where we've flooded the earth and its water world, and now we're trying to find a way to live underwater since the whole world's flooded. And I actually decided, since I was basing this after Neptune, that I would try to like make Neptune into a acronym, and I was gonna call it like the mech, like Neptune, the first sort of submergible exploration yet
Mhm.
construction focused mech. So okay, here's what I had: Neptune, right? A
Yeah.
nautical exploration plus tactical underwater Neoterra extractor.
Oh, damn. That's an acronym right there. I
Yeah,
would not have put it.
I mean, it just means nothing, but it's just I
Yeah,
thought it sounded cool. But
it
yeah,
does.
it's like I imagine this thing taking core samples, and once there was like stable enough ground to build on, it could also be used for construction. I had to add some solar paneling on the
Yeah,
little
very
shoulders there.
very
Uh,
versatile.
yeah, and it could be
A
your
lot of
friend.
versatility.
So there's
Mm.
that.
Can I be my friend? I want a friend now.
I'm gonna give you hugs. It's the end of the world. Yeah, I had this whole thing in line work with flats and shading and everything, and just decided it was too boring. Especially when I saw yours, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to render it, aren't I? So
Yeah, it's okay. It happens.
I gave it a render. I mean, I definitely didn't just use a hard round the whole time like some people do. Some people who might be on this call right now.
Oh,
Um,
who might that be?
yeah,
Who that boy?
who I miss.
It's it's a natural reaction to feel that when you look at my art. You know,
Wow.
not a
Okay, I thought you were being
not a
nice.
bad thing.
Well, there's my guy. So
Yeah, it's a big boy.
it's a
It's
big
a guy.
boy. Yeah, on his little dainty dancer feet, at his bubble butt and his little dancer feet.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna get into
Here you
another
go. Who
chunky
is this
boy.
handsome? Who is this handsome gentleman right there? Such a distinguished man. Look at
So
him.
fancy. Those are some good shapes, my guy.
Yeah, big shapes, big chunky shapes. That yeah, that's that was kind of my approach going in.
Hmm.
I used the lasso, used a bunch of reference, but used some big basic shapes and try to work with it. Tried not to get like too too try hardy, I guess. With that,
Well, you failed.
if it's not being, yeah, I kind of. It's it's natural. It's not a rare thing.
Yeah, you just do it in your sleep, so like it doesn't even
Yeah,
like
it's kind of the thing that I do.
your minimal effort looks like most people's try hard. I feel like
Yeah,
overgang at like 10% is like better than most people at 98%.
yeah, for real.
But
But yeah, I just try to work with the silhouette that I have already and try to
mm,
like let the material and the like all the physics and all the functionality of it like try to carry it because yeah, as long as you got a good foundation, you can work on it. You can work on top of it and try to and it's mostly looking good.
yeah, look at this shiny boy.
Yeah,
Look at him go.
look at that gold. Yeah, I wanted to like get the get that gold right.
Rendering gold is strange.
Yeah, it's not as not doesn't really behave the way you think
Right.
on the first. It's sometimes you gotta say, oh, this looks like gold. Yeah, it just yellow and some dark green thing. And yeah, that looks kind of like gold. I don't know why, but it does.
Do you
So
think
I'm gonna do it.
maybe you get a feel for it by because of how many times, like just from a visual library sense of like, do you think maybe you just filled your intuition by doing
Yes.
studies or looking at it or?
Uh, both. It's
Oh, okay.
a lot of looking at it, but I think it's more important to try to do it
Yeah.
as much as possible and repeat it and try to get it into your visual library, and not only that, but your muscle memory, even on your
Mm-hmm.
the way you put the pressure in, the way you put all those little specularities and little dents on the metal
Mm-hmm.
and the bounce light. It's all it's all about learning how to find the cheat, that little process, that micro process that gets you that result. And it's
Mm-hmm.
about how looking at other artists making a certain material
Mm-hmm.
is so important because you can see the shortcuts that they are taking and
Right.
all the processes that make that material look like it is.
It's more how do you stylize it, and that is why I think it's important to look at how other artists have done it. And again, like don't reinvent the wheel. Like just don't bog
Yeah,
yourself down with all
sure.
that. Somebody's already figured that out for you. There's way too many things to learn. There's new stuff out there to learn. Just like go off of what's already been done. Don't try to like there really is no such thing as like an original idea.
I
Which
should I should make a little time lapse thing or
mhm.
whatever
Oh my
because
god, yeah, OG
yeah,
channel win.
yeah, uh it's because it's so interesting and so helpful to
Mhm.
see someone do a thing in like seconds. You
Right.
know, I like to see like a bunch of uh art streamers
Mhm.
and the way they work and the way they have managed to make little shortcuts
Mhm.
in their process to make a material or a shape or whatever the hell. And yeah, it's very helpful in a way that you don't get just looking at images or
Right.
other like points of reference because you see it but you don't know how to do it,
Right.
if you know what I mean.
When I was younger, okay, so I'm at a weird age being a millennial where I was around when the only place you could get information was whatever you heard on television or the radio or the library. And even then, if you think about who has access to high academia and writing books and being popular or famous or having their ideas spread, that's still like a pretty limited when you think about it. Like I remember learning about animals from a monthly subscription to zoo books, or and there was also like a National Geographic thing where they would send you a bunch of pages that had punch holes in them and you could put them in a 3-ring binder. And that's how I would learn about elephants and about, anything. If it wasn't on the Discovery Channel, it wasn't in this book, I didn't know it if it was animal based. And like, the visual references I had to go off of were 90s cartoons or whatever, and 90s fashion and things like that. So, fast forward to now, and it's like it's stuff that I could have only dreamed of even at the beginning of college. When I was in college, there wasn't like a huge bevy of resources free online, like on YouTube, of just
Mhm.
stuff to, like there wasn't, if ArtStation was a thing, I didn't know about it. It was something that was maybe well known among like a few concept artists, but it wasn't
Yeah.
like so well known as it is now. Now people just upload their time lapses because it's just standard in so many programs. They'll be like, oh, Procreate already took the time lapse for me, so I'm just gonna put this on here, and it's so helpful. Like it's just
Yeah.
like if I could have just seen this, I wouldn't have gone to art school over again. Like there would have
Yeah.
been no point of me going. I learn things now from Cynics, from Ahmed Al-Duri, from like everyone that's online, free content out
Yeah.
there. Mark Brunet and everything. It's like you can just learn it
Yeah.
and it's free. And if I had just and I learned more from doing that than I ever did in art school, because in art school they weren't even teaching the basics. Like
Yeah.
this some of the stuff I'm hearing for the first time, and it's so easy, and I just felt like it was there's it makes sense that I wouldn't have gotten good until now, because unless you had access to that information, the happenstance, you weren't going to have access to it, not even in art school. So it's like, sometimes I lament like, oh, I'm like older and there's people that are like so much farther along than me and leveling up so quickly, and it's like, yeah, but that would make sense because unless you were already in the industry, like, okay, for example, the reason I don't know a lot of other artists my age is because they're either already famous, so, had some sort of, either were just a genius and doing a prodigy when they were 18, or like whatever, um, or they're people who have only ever worked off of reference because they were either self-taught or went to art school where it was just like, hey, look at this thing and you're just going to figure out by doing it how to make it, or we're taught that using reference is cheating. I have like from people my age that aren't just like in the industry, like there's just this wide range of beliefs that were instilled in them that are like, I look at them and I'm just like, I was where you are, where like I didn't know basics and I had weird ideas as to what could and couldn't be done with art. Like photo bashing, like that's a wild
Oh
concept.
no.
That is just something anybody does and it's just normal. It's just accepted because it's basically like collage. It's like you still made a new thing with the things you found. It's found art. Duchamp already like explained that, like, art history that nobody has to take. Like it's just, you know what I'm saying? They're like, well, you need to know contextual things about art, and it's like you're just making up reasons to need school because like now I can find everything online. Like there's no, if I want to learn about the history of art, I can, but like context now happens so quickly because of how much like access we have to unfolding events in real time. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's just
it's
so weird.
pretty insane. And even like younger artists, like right now that I have met and I know, really just don't really know where to even start. A lot of them just maybe just to watch videos or all. I feel like the language barrier is also like a huge thing, because you would think that having so much insane amounts of information would be carried over into like all the languages, but it's so weird that I mostly only find the most interesting and insightful and helpful stuff from like English sources, because you
Yeah.
can get like tutorials on how to do certain things, and on like on my part, like Spanish speaking tutorials and
Mm-hmm.
all this, but all the like real meat and potatoes, like all the design theory and all the like weird compositional stuff, and all the stuff that really changes your outlook on your own process is not really something that I find on my on my language,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of weird, because that it's a thing that I tell uh younger artists, younger than me at least,
Right.
to do, is like just learn English. There's so much stuff
Yeah,
to do
Makedo talks
to
about this a
find,
lot, how it's like
right?
there's like a big barrier there when it comes to that. And
Yeah,
it's not like nobody's like asking the people who speak English to make another language. That's not the point. It's
yeah,
more of like there's still limited access to like people, I don't know, being able to get like
yeah.
a
There's
following and upload. It's like algorithms will tend to favor certain people,
yeah, even
and like you know what I
like
mean, some content
yes,
gets pushed and others gets buried, like yeah.
yeah. It's also a thing of it's interesting because even now that it's all like super globalized and stuff,
It's
there's
really
still a
not, it's so very
certain,
Western, right? Like
yeah, there's still a certain privilege in like
right,
learning, like actually like learning how to do professional stuff,
it's like good luck if you
because
don't know English, like yeah. It
yeah,
sucks.
yeah, good luck. You may be able to like render some stuff and like
Mm-hmm.
make something look pretty, but if you really want to get like pro stuff done, you have to like know English. You have to get
Yeah,
like feedback from pros that are working in the industry, and the industry is very Western centric, and
right.
so
Even when
uh,
it's outsourced to other places, it's very Western
yeah,
centric. Like that's the wild part.
yeah. I have a little neighbor.
A little
Uh,
neighbor. Oh.
yeah, little neighbor. She's like, I don't know how old she is.
Mm.
She's like in 11 or 12. She really likes to draw. She's like in middle school,
Mm-hmm.
and her mom was was asking me where I learned all this stuff, and I was like, oh, I learned it from the internet and all that. Just and I thought, just look up some tutorials and stuff, and I was like, actually, I don't know if this little person knows English. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know where to point
Right.
her at. Like, I can't just say, "Oh, what's cynics?"
Right.
Because what it's like, oh, I have to tell them that they need to learn how to speak English and understand it. So to get to like the real deep stuff that's really gonna change their process.
It's such a barrier, yeah. Like
Yeah,
it's such
it's
a
so weird.
global problem. Like I feel like the bigger the world gets, the more imperialism, is trying to expand its network. I mean, it's been going on for like a long time. But it's
Yeah.
just such a tragedy because it's like, you know,
Yeah,
we
there
could be
there
sharing lots of different diverse information. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
there's a
Like
lot of it.
it could be so much better. Like you would think casting a wider net would mean, or like making the network bigger would mean Western people get more access to learning about other things. But really it just becomes
Yeah.
more everybody now has to learn. And now when things are to teach Western people things, they're like in a weird fetishized way. It's never in like a, the documentary is always framing
Yeah.
things like still on this like weird hierarchy where it's like, look how weird and different this culture is compared to the right one. Like that's what they're saying, you know what I mean? It's like really disgusting. But
Yeah, it's also kind of sad to see like how much further could you have gone if you knew about this and if
right.
you knew how to do this.
Right, like that's
And
why when
how
I like don't lament not knowing things when I was younger. It's like I did there was no reason for me to, I didn't have any access to it, you know what I mean? And same with people now where it's like don't beat yourself up if like there's this barrier to you like learning something, you know what I mean? Like that's why it's just everybody learns at different times, you know? Even if we did all have the same access, but
yeah,
yeah.
it's like how much farther could you have gone if you just learned English
Right.
and just looked at bunch of the resources that they already have, and instead we're like kind of trapped into like
Mhm.
looking at only like a very small like handful of resources that we have, which is I
Yeah.
guess it's not that small. You can probably get pretty far with it, but it's you're still limiting your the range of things you can learn.
Well, thank you so much for joining me over gang. This was fun.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I couldn't miss the opportunity to hear myself on mic.
It's so
So
glorious. I do agree. Where can people find you online?
I am OvergangDood, like D-O D-O-D D-O-O-D, uh, everywhere, Instagram, uh, Twitter, ArtStation, OvergangDood, DOOD, and
Nice.
yeah, thank you.
And I saw that you just reached 5K on
Oh
Instagram.
yeah,
Congratulations.
my 5K. I thank you very much for your entry on my Draw This in Your Style. It was very good. You are tied for first place with all of my other entries. So yeah,
No, we don't play favorites here. So yeah, if you want to be one of Overgang's favorites, you should definitely
yeah,
try his Draw This in Your Style challenge. He'll send you 1,000 Overgang kisses
yes.
virtually. And yeah, I guess there's not really much left to do but say goodbye.
Bye. Adios.